Today, we are going to talk about how to run Claude Code on Kubernetes as well as run it securely. All right? So I wanted to make sure there's so much AI stuff going on. It's like a breath of fresh air to come to a conference and talk to real people and not just chatbots. So I have created all these slides with my hand except one. See if you can spot it. Okay? So this is the agenda. Why do you want to do Claude on Kubernetes? How to run Claude Code on Kubernetes? And then how do you run agents on Kubernetes? And then how do you harden those agents, expose everything as platform, and then we have a working demo and GitHub repository. And then I'll be around as well, or we can stay here for a little bit for question and answer. Sounds good? Excellent. OK. So first question is, why Claude? So of course, the Anthropic models are good. However, the Claude harness is one of the best right now. And even though I'm doing this presentation with Claude, you can swap it with Codex, anything, Gemini, anything you want. OK? So the harness is the actual underlying of what tool to call, when to call, in what order, and what not. And together, they create an AI agent. OK. So when you think about, most of you probably run Claude Code on your CLI, or some of you use the tool that Anthropic gives you. Under the hood, it's just an NPM package, right? So you can run Claude Code or Claude agents anywhere where you can run Node.js or Python SDK, and you can reach the Anthropic models via API or from your cloud provider. So what that means is you can run NPM package in your local, which all of us do, right? All of us have Claude Code CLI. You can run it on a virtual machine like a EC2 or Google Cloud Virtual Machine. And because it's a package, you can also run it in container. And if you can run something in container, you can, of course, run it in Kubernetes. The excellent speakers before me, like Lynn and Mauricio, they pointed out that observability is a challenge with GenAI. However, Kubernetes solves all that. So if you can run your AI agent on Kubernetes, we are already all Kubernetes pill, right? I'm doing Kubernetes for 10 years. We are in KCD. So I'm not going to go through all of this. But your agents can achieve multi-tenant isolation, resource governance, scale, scheduling and automation, observability, enterprise ecosystem, security, and platform abstraction. So what we are going to do next is we are going to go from level 1 to level 7. So we are going to start running Claude Code in our pod to running multi-agent systems securely on Kubernetes. OK, it's like Enter the Dragon kind of thing, right? So it's like level 1. So at level 1, we have this Docker file, which is basically getting all the packages. And at the end, it's running npm install Anthropic AI Claude Code. So when this Docker file runs, it is going to create a container. And if this container, when the container runs, Claude Code is running inside it. And I could have used Python SDK as well, but for this, we are using Node. And for platformers like me and Carlos, we wanted to simulate the way we work using CLI, right? OK, so if I move forward, I have to go closer to the laptop. I veered too far. OK, now this is level 2. So at this point, the container is running with the Claude Code. And now we have to inject a prompt and a model. So as you could see, this is like a kind job. And under command, I'm passing Claude and then dangerously skip permissions, as in it's not going to ask me yes or no all the time. And the model is Anthropic model, and the prompt is $prompt. So in this case, the prompt is print all the variables you can see. and I have to pass all the agent credential in the environment variable, right? Because I have to connect to the model using Anthropic API. But there's a big problem here, right? It works. So this is like the bare bone working. When the pod runs, it's going to connect to the model, run any prompt you give. But the problem is, when it says print all environment variables, what is it going to print? It's going to print all your Anthropic API key and GitHub key and all that stuff, which is not good. And what that means is any tool that this agent is calling, they are also going to see all that keys, and it's a higher risk exposure. And there is no dedicated network monitoring or restrictions. Okay, so that's level 2. It's good though. Our Claude Code is running on Kubernetes now. You can run any prompt. It can connect to the model. Okay, if we go to level 3, now we are going to isolate the Claude Code container from the proxy sidecar container. And what we are going to do in the proxy sidecar container is, using config map, we can restrict what domain it can go to. So we could say, this is only allowed to go to Anthropic, GitHub, and any other site you want. And we are using IP tables redirect, which is a kernel level redirect, not HTTPS_proxy. So the agent cannot bypass it. The agent just sees I'm going through api.anthropic.com, but because of IP tables redirect with CERT, it goes to the proxy sidecar container. And we are going to replace the actual keys with some fake key. And we will inject the real keys, both for Anthropic and the GitHub, in the proxy sidecar container. So now, when the agent says, hey, print out all the environment variables, it's not going to print out all our confidential keys, right? The credentials are isolated to the proxy, only allowed domains are accessible, and proxy logs show all network activity. All right, so this is level 3. So if I go to next level, okay, let's see, click this. All right, so now we have a Claude Code running. We have isolated the keys, proxy sidecar, IP tables redirect, CERT. So now we are going to create an agent. For this purpose, we are just creating a code developer and code reviewer agent. So the reviewer reviews the code, and the developer develops the code. So let's first start with code reviewer. So it's basically a pod, and what it does is it clones a repository, lists the open pull requests, review, plus if it finds something, it comments on the pull request. If everything is good, it merges it. So how did we create this agent? Okay, I don't know if you all paid attention 3 months back. Remember the Claude harness was leaked, like their whole code base? And it turned out that all they are doing is a bunch of prompts. They are not really doing intricate coding, which was a little bit interesting to see. They are using a bunch of prompts in their code. We are doing the same thing to keep it flexible, also easier. So if you think, oh my God, in the Docker file or in the agent prompt, I have to do a bunch of code. No. Look, all I'm saying is you are an autonomous code review agent for GitHub repository specified in target repo. And then I'm saying clone the repository, use this command. So any functionality you want to create with agent, you can literally, I'm going to share the GitHub, you can just change the prompts, put the command, and you are good. And the review process is list all open PRs. For each open PR, check if it is already approved. For unreviewed PR, right? So this is our code reviewer agent. Making sense? Good? Okay. So this is our code reviewer agent. So this is level 4. So now, level 5 is multi-agent. So now we are going to create the developer agent. So this will be another pod, but the same mechanism, right? We have the Claude Code installed in the container, the proxy sidecar, securing the credentials. And this developer container will simply clone the repo, check specification.markdown file for whatever features you want to add, and open a pull request. So what does that mean? So it means this one will clone repo and code and create a pull request, and we have another agent running in another pod which will review the open PR and leave comment. And it is possible, right, that it will leave some comment and it needs to be changed again, right? Like review code, and finally it is done. So what that means is we don't want the agent to forget what it did before, right, for a developer agent. So we need to resume from before. So what does that mean? It means we need to put memory. I mean, in GenAI, we have this tendency of coming up with fancy names, like harness is basically code, right? I never told my manager, I'm writing a fancy harness to insert orders into the table. It's basically delivered a code. Same thing, when we say dream mode, it's a nightly bad job. When we say memory, it's basically storage. So in Kubernetes, storage is PVC, right? So now we are adding the persistent volume to the developer container so it can remember what it did before and continue from there. Okay, so now we have this multi-agent system working, right? So we have developer container, clone repo, check what needs to be done, open a pull request, the reviewer agent reviews the comments, address review feedback, and push plus update PR. So at this point, it's good, but it needs a lot of resource to be created. So now we go to level 6, which is for the platform engineers, where we are using Kubernetes Resource Operator, or KRO, to bundle everything together. So here we are creating just a simple Claude Code agent, and when I run this KRO, it will create all these different components that needs to be done. So from 260 plus lines to 20 lines of YAML, consistent, standard, enforced, self-service, fewer errors. Think of it like crossplane. This one is also open source, created by AWS. Okay. Now level 7, at this point, we have been running just regular containers. Now there is a new SIG project from CNCF called Agent Sandbox, which has a built-in timeout. So even if your agent goes crazy, it can shut it down. You can manage the life cycle. And also it has gVisor integration. So it cannot really go in to the deeper substrate. You can also use Google's substrate, by the way. There is also another open source project from Google very similar to this. And another cool thing is the regular pod has a cold start. This agent sandbox comes with a warm pool. It keeps the pods running so that every time an agent needs to come up, there is no init time needed. This is different than cluster over provisioner. There is no pause pods. These are the actual pods. Okay, so with that, so these are the 7 levels. This is the GitHub, and I'm going to show something real quick, and then I'm going to go back to the demo. One thing we wanted to do is you don't have to go one by one. Each level works independently. So if you just want to see, all right, Raj, I just want to see how I can run Claude Code on Kubernetes, you can simply run level 2. If you want to run the developer agent, you can simply run 0.5. You don't have to go through all of this one by one. OK, so if I go back here, this is where Carlos was supposed to come in and give the demo, but he has recorded. So hopefully all you guys can know this is the only AI generator slide. All right, so let's start the demo. Hopefully this works.
I'm sorry that I cannot be there in person, but I had a conflict last minute and I couldn't make it, but we have a demo for you of the project that we just presented. So we have a cool demo. Here's the repo. You can clone it. You can go over the stats of learning what Raj explained. But for the demo, I'm going to concentrate on the last step, which is creating a CRD abstraction using the sandbox project from the Kubernetes SIG, and in this case, the sandbox template and the warm pool. So pods are already created to be taken, and we show the concept of a claim. For this, we're going to use, in the project, you can clone it. You get a template that you can clone, and then in the spec.md, you basically put all the specifications that you want in your web app. For testing purposes, we created one, so here's our spec.md, and over the past few weeks, we've been working on this project presentation, and we created, I guess, a series of features, like a landing page, facts, concepts about this talk, and the concepts that we're talking about. And we wanted to test if the agents were able to develop and review the code in GitHub and get us the page created. And this is the page that they worked together over a bunch of pull requests. If we go back to the pull requests, these are the interactions between agents, developer agent and review agents. And this is the website. It has the facts, it has architecture, it has the last feature was a quiz that was done today. And if you want to add something just to show how it works, I can go to the repo and open a new issue. So for example, if I want to say that I want the link on the homepage to this repo, I didn't see it there. I can say feature add link to the GitHub repo on the homepage, right? And we can put that the link is this one, right? And we can put the same thing in here. Add a link to the GitHub. Add a link on the homepage, you should say, right? On the home page that points to the GitHub project. I cannot type GitHub project. And then we'll add that at the top so it reads correctly for the agent. Let's create that issue, and then let's move to code. So in the code, we're going to create 3 CRDs. We use the KRO project to create the resource graph definition that creates a CRD on the fly. And then we create our custom resources. The one in the middle is the one that you pay attention, is the Claude Code sandbox template. When I create the CR, it will create a sandbox template, and it will create a warm pool that points to that sandbox template, and then the template has all the configuration of our Claude Code, the config maps, and the secrets, and then it will create 5 pods to be ready to be taken by one of the claims. And we're going to show the concept of sandbox claim, that the dispatcher, in this case a developer, or a recurring task, like a cron job, a reviewer, can run and claim one of those pods. So to get started, let's go to the terminal, and then give me one of my cheat sheets here. So we're going to create, the first thing is that template CR. So we can see the apply, and then how it looks like. This is the CRD that I created, right? A Claude Code sandbox template. I give it a name, how many replicas I want for the warm pool, the credentials that I want to attach, and then the concept of that proxy of like injecting the secrets of the GitHub token. And in this case, I'm using Bedrock as Anthropic API, but you can use your Anthropic API key, and also adjust this to run anything that you want. Open code, codecs, any harness that you need. I'm just using Claude Code as the example because a lot of people have been asking us how to run that in Kubernetes. So with that created, this thing created a k-get sandbox template. Is there k-get sandbox warm pool? Is there with 5 pods, so we should have 5 pods. So 5 pods are ready to go. Now we want to create a developer. So let's look at how the developer looks like. That's a different CRD. It's a Claude Code agent task. It doesn't have to be a developer, it could be any task that you want to run, and with any prompt that you want. So in this case, I'm given a prompt of saying, go to this GitHub repo, given an environment variable, look at the open issues, then on purpose, leaves tests out so the reviewer can point out that you left tests out, kind of make it interactive, look at any open PRs that you open that needs attention, and lastly, if there's a feature missing in the spec.md, I could just add a feature to the spec.md to do that, and it will handle it. So that's it. So let's apply this. Let's go here and apply this, and we'll see what it will spin up. So in this case, we apply that CRD, get Claude Code agent task, right? It's there, and then this should have been created a sandbox claim. And the sandbox claim actually is asking in the spec, right? It's asking that I want one of those pods that using this sandbox template reference that we created, and let's see if it got one attached. It should have got one attached already. So it got one of the pods assigned, so that's the one that is running. So now we should have 6 pods because one is taken and the one who always wants to keep 5. So while that runs, the Claude Code will look at the issue, right? It will look at the issue and then open a pull request. Then we'll launch a reviewer, and then we'll see how the reviewer interacts with the PR, and then back and forth until the feature gets implemented. Let's give it a minute. Well, a few seconds. I'll pause and come back. It looks like something got pushed to a branch. Let's refresh to see if we get a pull request. That's the pull request from the agent. Let's look what it did and the changes. And it should not have tests on purpose because we want the reviewer to do it. So let's go to the reviewer now. If we go back to the viewer, we pick up the reviewing routine, and then this is a CRD, Claude Code Agent Routine. Almost identical, the only thing that it takes is the schedule. I could have just created one CRD. I created 2 just to show examples. And then this one runs every 10 minutes or every 1 hour. And then the instructions are you scan open PRs and review the ones that need attention, and point out that follows evaluation criteria, like do you have test, security, correctness, style, right? Decision logic on how to do that, so that you put your own criteria on this reviewer, and it would communicate back, and then when the developer comes back, it can see that it's missing test, and it will add. So let's add the reviewer to see what it tells the developer what's wrong with this PR. We created it, and then that should create, let me get pods. That should be, well, we need to wait 10 minutes, but we can accelerate it by creating a job right away. So if we look at the command here to dispatch one of these jobs, let me look down here for the developer. For the reviewer, I can launch one off of that job that it got created, because there's a cron job, right? If you look at the cron job, it's just there. It's not have launched yet. I don't want to wait 10 minutes. So if I launch it, let me see, namespace, server not found, create job, Cloud reviewer. 08. Yeah, now it get created. And then let's look at the pods, right? Let's look at the pods, and 7 seconds, right? So now the reviewer is there, and then a new pod got created. So we go back here to the pull request, and we should have a message after only one message, and then you see my face because I'm using my personal access token with a closed private repo. You should also do that. That's why you're going to see my face, like as a developer and as the agent, but not a bot. But in production, you will create one there. So let me refresh, and then if not, we'll pause, and then we'll come back right away. Oh, it's already approved. Code review approved. So it looks like there's no need for tasks. In this case, it's not logic, it's just a link. So that's okay. So it says code approved, merging, it passed all the things, and then it should be launching. Let me see. is launching the website. We'll give it, let me pause and I'll come back in 1 second. So I can show you the final link to see if it works. So it looks like it took a minute to deploy. So let me refresh, see if we get our GitHub. So we added the GitHub at the top and it added the GitHub at the bottom, right? So if you click on it, it opens the GitHub URL that we gave it. So yay, the demo worked. I tested it a few times and it's working. Just to show you one final thing is go ahead and download the repo, or if Raj has time, he can show some of the YAML files. The important one is this RDD template, right, that is going to create a proxy config, a server config, and the sandbox template. So the sandbox template has things like network policy that is managed or unmanaged. You want to use something like Cilium or ECAS auto mode. Application network policies that you can block on certain domain names. The volumes, if you want to use cloud storage like S3 or any other providers for the volumes. And then the template where we put the init containers, but the main container has the cloud code inside, or any of the harness that you need. So that's basically, and the last thing is the wormhole that you create with the number of replicas that you pass in. So you create these CRDs in your system. Just to show you that it's true, we can say k get CRDs, and as you can see, here are my CRDs that I created about cloud code. This is the abstraction that I can create. I can also call it generic agent, and then one of the fields could be like, what do I want? Like I want KRO, I want cloud code, I want codecs, I want open code, like any type of harness that I want to use. In this case, I use cloud code. It's very popular. And I run it on Kubernetes. It should run on any Kubernetes cloud provider, on-premise, on Kind cluster. I hope you like the demo, and keep in touch. Follow us in LinkedIn, and then Raj would answer any questions there. And thank you so much.
That is the GitHub repo, and you can try any modules. We're almost out of time. So if you want to follow us in the LinkedIn, Carlos and I plan to do more demos on the agent sandbox and the Kubernetes agents. So yeah, thank you for attending, and I'll see you around.